My parents had a love affair with the beach. They used to come in the red car, I think it was called. They'd come down to the pavilion and they would wind up staying down here, and we have all sorts of pictures of them down. And after, as they got older, what happened is that my dad especially wanted to settle down here. And so when I was 4 years old, he wound up finding a house on Sapphire, 212 Sapphire, for $125 a month. And I spent all the way through the 8th grade living at that home. And I was an entrepreneur here. I used to sell my shells off of the concrete that goes around the bay, and the ones with glitter cost more. That's how I really made it. That's where I got my big money.
And I was a little older when I got to come here. I was 15, and I moved from Minnesota. My dad just had a great idea to retire from the post office and start his own mail service business. And he moved us here, and I heard we were going into a ranch house, and I pictured it to be this big, expansive home. It was a small little home on a cute road, Bellevue Lane, down on the peninsula. And there's no street in front on Bellevue Lane. 2 houses face a sidewalk, and you just park in the driveway. And it was a really cute street full of little children, and the moms would put a chair at each end of the lane, and their children would just play in the lane all day, and I babysat them.
Well,
we went to school here.
We went to school here, and that was really part of the problem, because she went to the other school. I went to the true school, which was Corona Del Mar High School.
But I was a sailor, and I went to Newport Harbor. And so when we met later, it was like, "You're a sea king," and he thought I was a sailor. But we still fell in love.
We were able to bridge that gap with a lot of therapy. I'd been playing baseball, and I did it at Corona Del Mar, and then I eventually went, and I was playing in a summer league, a college all-star team, or college team, and I got picked to play in a game in Anaheim Stadium, and I was so excited to go play in Angel Stadium. And so I was all set and ready, and then about 2 weeks before, I threw my back out to where I could not even move, and I lost that opportunity. And I was just at a real low point, and I remember just praying that day, and I said, "God, I'll do anything if you change my life." And I felt some peace, and then about a month later, I was going down to the ferry boat. And as I went down to the ferry boat, it was the first date that I had had in about 6 months, because I was despondent, didn't have a girlfriend. And I made that date and got on my boat, and I was going back and forth across on an 8 to 4 shift. And that's just a great shift, because every girl in the world goes across at about 9 o'clock and comes back at about 2 or 3, But I was shy and introverted and scared to death of girls. I never really talked to them. And as I'm going on this shift, actually it was a 4 to 12 shift. And as I'm going on this shift at 5.
So you worked at the ferry?
Yeah, I worked at the ferry boat. I started as a collector and went on and became a driver. I was 18 at the time, and at 5:25, this beach baby walks on my boat, and I just looked at her, and the little voice in my head said, "You're out of your mind, don't even think about it," and I watched her walk off. But at 7:25, she walked back on my boat, and as she walked on my boat, she sat right in the front where we're supposed to block the car. And I was scared to death, because I thought, if I go up there, I'll have to talk to her. And then I looked at her bike, and she had one of those bikes that had the banana seat and the high handlebars. And it was called a moon buggy, and we used to call them stingrays, but hers was a moon buggy. And I started making fun of her bike, and she was laughing, and she was laughing with me rather than at me, which was a unique experience for me, because most of the times girls would laugh at me. But I just thought, okay, this is great. And I'm walking back, and I start driving thinking, what am I going to do? And my collector's walking all around collecting all the money. And I owe Seymour Beak 15 cents, because when she got up to there, the collector got up to there, I just said, "Oh, that's okay, she paid me." I gave her the free ride. And that's the first free ride ever given to a girl on a boat. And she said, "Oh, thank you." And I said, "Oh, you're welcome. Anytime you want to ride the ferry boat, you just come by and see me." And as the sun is just setting at that moment, and sunsets on the harbor, of course, are just beautiful. And she says, "Can I stay until the sun sets?" And God kind of took over my mind at that time, and I just wound up looking, because I never, ever would have said anything like this. I looked at her and I said, "Baby, you can stay until the moon sets." And then I wanted to die. I just wanted to die. I thought, this is terrible. And so, how'd you take it?
Well, I took it very well because I thought he was really cute. And I was just out, free time. I worked at Gunderson Drug on the corner of the peninsula. And I was working there since I was 16. And at this point in time, I'm 21. I'm almost finished with nursing school. So I'm kind of a free spirit, and I'm out riding my bike, just enjoying the scenery. And he was part of it. So I noticed, the ferry driver is pretty cute. And feelings were mutual. And this is where our fairy tale began that night.
And then she just stayed on and kept going back and forth, and she'd get off, and then she'd come back on, and she'd get off, and I'm thinking she's playing hard to get, and I'm right here. I'm not hard to get. Just and then it's getting late. She finally started staying on the boat at 9, and as I was going back and forth, and then at about 10 o'clock, I had a midnight shift, and I just said, I always go for beach walk after work. I said, I'd never been for a beach walk in my life after work. But she said, "Oh, I don't know." And so we tied up the boat at 11:30, and then I took and dropped my collector off, and then passed her house on the Balboa Peninsula, and then we went and walked at the Balboa Pier, Newport Pier. As we were at the Newport Pier, we're walking, and it was a perfect night. It was a full moon. The moonbeams and the stars are glistening off the water, and here I am walking on the beach with the ultimate beach baby. And we get down to about Pier 19, and she reaches down and touches the water. And then she's kind of like looking for a paper towel or something, and that's when I dropped the second stupid line of the night. I said, "I want to use my hand dryer." And she
It
took
worked.
it.
So we're holding hands hours after we met.
From that period of time, we stayed together, and we just, it has just been wonderful. And we wound up getting a job in Lake Elsinore. First, I taught at Mater Dei High School after graduating from Chapman. Did that for a year, and then we got a job at Elsinore High School. And so we were going to move to Elsinore for 1 year, and then, of course, come back and be a beach kid. I got to do my student teaching at Corona Del Mar High School. But that was 49 years ago. So
And my first job was at Hoag Hospital when it was just a small 4-story place. And then we moved to Lake Elsinore. So it took us about 3 years to cut the tie. We'd keep coming back here to go to a church that we had attended, and we just loved it here. But then we got very involved in our own community. But now we get to come back and visit quite often.
So then over the ensuing, 40 years or so, this has been your...
This is our place.
It's our happy place.
It's been wonderful. It's been grateful. Our parents moved from Minnesota and from Iowa to wind up coming out here, and then to helping us to wind up meet. And then we wound up having 6 kids. We've got 36 grandkids, and they found this to be their happy place too. And every April we're down here, and Dennis Price's home on Pearl, and we get to go stay there, and then the kids just love coming down, and it's just a great place for family vacation.